Mom Hacks, episode number 50. My name is Krista, and I'm your host. It's January 17th, 2024, and today we are picking back up for part 2 of my interview with Beth Wheeler, the mom, counselor, CEO, and founder of Moms Loving Moms. Now, if you missed last week's episode number 49, stop right here, go back and listen because we covered a lot. We talked about planning for postpartum and how new moms in Middle Tennessee and eventually beyond can request a free kit from her company. We talked about setting boundaries, accepting help as a new mom, and a ton more. Once you've checked out that episode, come right back here for today's show. But before we jump into part 2 with Beth, I just want to say thanks for tuning in, Mama. I started this podcast because babies don't come with instructions. As of this recording, I am chasing around a 5-year-old that no amount of Googling, mom groups, or books were able to prepare me for. There's a lot of stuff people don't talk about when it comes to pre-pregnancy, during pregnancy, and postpartum. And as someone who was previously terrified of all of the above, I'm here to help you pull back the curtain on all of it. And every now and then, it may get a little messy. We may share a little TMI, but that's why you're here, right? My goal is you'll leave every episode feeling refreshed, inspired, and hopeful, knowing you are not on this mom journey alone. Now, there's a lot of subject matter to cover when it comes to mom life, and we are covering it all. Now, let's dive into part 2 of my conversation with Beth Wheeler, CEO of Moms Loving Moms. How do you help moms? Obviously, with Moms Loving Moms, this is one of the ways you do it, and through counseling as well. But just in terms of sharing advice for the emotional ups and downs of this postpartum period, especially for those who might be dealing with issues such as postpartum depression or anxiety.
Yeah. 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 I think with the ones, especially that I do have the privilege of counseling through it, I think going to counseling in itself is so important because it's easy for moms to feel like they're like, it'll pass on its own. It'll be okay. It's just, I'll get past it. I don't have the time to work through this. Whatever the thing is, I think just allowing yourself that space to go to counseling, to talk about it, to then have that person that's able to say, this is normal or this is not normal. Or even if it is normal, that doesn't mean we have to suffer through it alone. Like it may be normal, it may be common, like, yeah, sure, these hormones may be typical, but we can also give you tools and resources to help you manage it better and to help it feel a little bit just easier through this temporary time while the hormones are leveling out. So I think that that can be so helpful, just being able to give yourself that space and just encouraging them in, I think a lot of times, especially with postpartum anxiety and depression themselves, we think that it will just pass in its own time, but a lot of times it doesn't. And it gets worse if we don't treat it and if we don't talk about it and if we don't find those tools. So I think if you have any sort of idea or feeling like something's just not right, don't ignore it and don't feel like it's just going to go away because a lot of times it gets better so much faster if you do just address it and if you do admit it and if you do seek out the help, even if that is just allowing yourself the space to cry and vent and just talk about how hard this season is because that's something that we tend to push down and we don't want to talk about and we don't want to admit. And I think that just admitting it and talking about it in itself is such amazing therapy.
Well, social support, of course, is crucial
Hmm.
for all moms. So, what advice can you offer for building that support network and seeking help when needed during that postpartum period?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so many good ways to do that. I mean, honestly, just having the idea to do it to begin with. I think we are so quick to shut that down and say it's too hard or it's too scary or I'm not going to go to this group. I'm not going to do this because it's scary, it's uncomfortable. But I think if we just accept like it's going to be uncomfortable but it's going to be good for me. Like it's going to be uncomfortable but the good things in life are usually the things that are uncomfortable. We have to get out of our comfort zone to be able to gain that support system. So whether it be from if it's from a spiritual aspect, if you want to find a small group within your church, or if you want to get more involved in that way to build that community, or even if it's like a therapy support group, finding a support group of moms in similar seasons that's also that has like a professional built in. So it's not just moms coming around and just complaining or talking about their experiences, but having somebody who is also able to tell you like what's normal, what is expected, and what we can do about it. I think that's so important. So it can be finding a support group of some sort or just showing up to those silly mom meetups that you see all the time that you think, "Oh, I'd love to do that," but then you always talk yourself out of going. Just showing up for yourself, knowing that it's not going to be easy, it's not going to be comfortable, but it's not going to get better if we don't do those things. You're not going to gain that community if we don't try and put ourselves in those situations.
Sure. Do you have any insight on online versus in person for building that social support?
Mm,
Just obviously at especially I'm thinking especially for new moms. Depending on your baby's sleep schedule, I mean, my daughter would cluster feed and it would be like, "Oh my gosh," I felt like I was always awake at night or very sporadically sleeping throughout the night, and then during the day, again and they say sleep when the baby sleeps, but I was very rarely doing
yeah.
that, but I was just a mess in the house with her, and she was sleeping, and I would be cleaning or maybe just sitting trying to binge on one of my shows, and it was hard for me to get out as a new mom.
Yeah.
Of course, I understand the value of being in person, but just curious your perspective on either of those
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
maybe pros and cons with either or.
Yeah. I do. I definitely do think that in person can be easier because it can feel so much more natural being able to be in person and being able to just kind of see body language and just, I don't know, it's then you don't have the technical glitches or the waiting for someone to respond or the misunderstood tone in text message. There's so many things virtually that can be difficult. But if you're not comfortable with getting out in person, I know the first few months especially, we try to be so careful because the baby is so vulnerable. I think that there definitely can be good ways to connect with people virtually. It's just doing it, making sure that it is in a smaller environment. I think the issue with a lot of like the Facebook moms groups is there's hundreds to thousands of moms on there with so many different opinions and so many different experiences. And again, with just the text or the just written communication, it can be so difficult. So I think finding smaller groups. I know Postpartum Support International, they host a lot of support groups that can be really, really beneficial. And they all are like focused on different things, whether it be you're struggling with postpartum anxiety or depression, or just a new mom support group or things like that. And it's all virtual because it's nationwide. I think finding things like that where you're going into a group with a small number of people that are all there for the same reason and are kind of going through similar stages, I think is most important. So whether that be in person or whether that be virtually, just approaching it with similar, not even like-minded people, but just in similar stages, I think can be beneficial.
Okay, let's talk about going back to work and or managing household responsibilities.
Yeah.
Of course, that can add to the stress of the postpartum experience. And now being on this other side of the pandemic, where a lot of us who were previously going in 5 days a week to a job and then spending almost 2 years perhaps working fully remote, and
Mhm,
then a lot of people have been called back into an office. So now many companies do have work from home policies,
mhm.
which is nice. I think we've seen lots of companies embrace more flexible work environments, which is great for families. But how can new moms set boundaries and find that balance that
Mhm.
works for them when it comes to managing work and managing baby and self-care and all the things?
Yeah, yeah, and I love this. I love this conversation because it's one that I work with so many of my clients with because it's such a common issue and it's so overwhelming to think about whenever you have had that maternity leave and you are just kind of in this bubble and then you're thinking about, oh my gosh, like going back to this life that I had before I had my baby is such a scary thought. And you can plan it all you want before baby arrives and what it's going to look like perfectly. And then once baby's here, it's just a completely different thing a lot of times. But I think the thing that I always try to push is just changing your expectation of yourself. Like not necessarily in a bad way, saying like you're not going to be able to do what you did, but at the same time recognizing you may not be able to do what you were doing previously. Your priorities are different. You are a little bit more sleep deprived. Like there's going to be a lot of different factors that are impacting you that were not impacting you before. So when you are preparing for going back to work or you are preparing for just being able to kind of get into a rhythm of keeping the house clean and doing laundry and just keeping up with things, you do have that baby that you're considering in everything you do. If it's home things, like you're going to be distracted by the baby, you're going to have to be taking care of the baby, you're going to be tired, you're going to need to take care. There's going to be so many other things, and it's not going to look as perfect and as neat as it may have before because there are those distractions. And if you go into it comparing to how it had looked before, you're going to be disappointed and it's not going to look the same. And you're going to feel like a failure because you're going to be like, oh my gosh, why? Like, I'm not myself anymore. Why can't I do this? I'm not doing it as well as I had. So, before you enter into it, kind of setting new expectations for yourself, I think can be huge, especially if you're going back into a work field, knowing what your position is and how you had been running it previously and being able to kind of look at that and think, okay, is there anything that I already know I'm going to have to change when I go back into the office that I will not be able to continue to do just with like the routines or the habits or the ways that I had been doing something? And how can I make that feel more manageable now with if I am going to be pumping while I'm there, or how am I going to be like just putting that routine that's going to look different and considering my priorities. I'm not going to be able to stay at work as late as I wanted to, or just all the things. I think preparing ahead of time for a completely like clean slate of what that position is going to look like for you and how you need to be changing it and how you need to be flexible while you're kind of experimenting with what's going to work for you now, I think is crucial. But essentially, don't approach it with the idea that it's going to be exactly how it was because and you're gonna be very easily upset with yourself if you approach it that way.
So true. Okay, so we talked about how Moms Loving Moms helps new moms here in Middle Tennessee. So, say I am an expecting mom in Connecticut or pick another random state across the US. How can someone bring this concept like Moms Loving Moms to their community if they're not in this area?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in the future, we hope to be able to to offer it to every state. But until that happens, we are always happy to just like share the list of items that we put in each kit. So if you are in a different state and you want to make the kit for yourself or you want to make a kit for a friend or you want to be providing that, then we're happy to send over just our exact list of everything that goes in each kit so you can kind of look into it and figure out how to be just making the box yourself. That's really the best way to be able to offer that and provide it because there's no magic items that we're putting in there. It's just the list that we have tailored that we feel like is most appropriate. But it's and we give it to you for free, so you'll have to pay for it. But we can still help you be able to make that for yourself wherever you are.
Okay, cool. And then regardless of where you lived, you mentioned Venmo, you mentioned there's donation information on the website. So
Hmm.
clearly wherever anyone lives, they can then access that information.
Yeah.
If you're outside of Middle Tennessee and you've been moved to give back, then
Hmm.
they could find that and could do so in that way. And then same just from a social media perspective, obviously. We all have social media all around the world and across the US.
Yeah.
So they can go to your website, they can go to your socials, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and being able
Okay.
to
Okay.
keep up with us so that you do see when we are growing and what areas we are expanding to, because hopefully in the future we do plan on expanding in a lot of ways. So it could be that we will be in an area near you in the future. Hopefully, fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
Yes, I'm crossing my fingers and toes for you. So, two more really quick questions, Beth. How do you keep it all together?
I don't. I don't. Not at all. I don't. But I think the ways that help me keep it together as much as I do, I think number one, my husband. I could not function without just how much help he gives me and just allowing me to have the time that I do and allowing me to just take a breather whenever the kids are I'm at my breaking end. I think we're a good team and being able to just say like I need a break. Like you this is I'm going to go slam a door and I'm going to go cry for a minute and then I'm going to come back out and we're fine. But I think along with that though, I think it's so important for me to be able to just express my emotions. I think as moms we do try to bottle it up and keep it together and be like everything's fine. It's fine. I'm not going to yell, I'm not going to scream, I'm not going to get upset. And not to say that we should be yelling and screaming all the time, but if it does happen, I think it's so valuable to have those opportunities to then come to your kids afterwards, like, this is why mommy reacted this way. Like, I shouldn't have screamed. I shouldn't have yelled. I shouldn't have closed the door, like, slammed the door or whatever. And I think it's provided so many good opportunities for me and my son to be able to talk because I notice a lot of myself in him and in my daughter especially. She just under 2, but she has so much sass and so many emotions. And so just being able to kind of have those practice moments, even at such young ages, of just like, mommy's feeling really frustrated because of this and this and this, or I'm feeling this way because of this, or just practicing, I need to go take a deep breath because I'm really frustrated or because I'm feeling overwhelmed or whatever the thing is. So just being able to be open about my emotions and how I'm feeling to a healthy extent, I think it's important rather than feeling like I'm going to bottle it up. Because if I'm bottling it up, then it's definitely going to explode at some point and it's not going to be pretty and it's not going to be good. So the support is helpful, but also just being able to just sometimes I'm going to yell and sometimes I feel like it's necessary. And, so, and sometimes you got to be able to talk about it.
For sure. It's so funny. I asked this question in a lot of my interviews and everybody is like, "Well, I don't."
Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody? If
Everybody
they
has the
do,
same
if
answer
they
and
say
it's
they are, they're
awesome.
lying. They're absolutely lying.
Okay, last question. What is one tip or trick or piece of advice that you would share with another mama right now?
Oh man, it's a tough one. Going back to what I've already talked about with the self-talk, I think recognizing your own self-talk and recognizing what you are doing well and focusing on what you are doing well rather than focusing on what you could be doing better or comparison or what that mom's doing versus what you're doing. Just you are the mom you're supposed to be. You are the mom that you were called to be. You're not called to be any other mom. And it's okay to just at the end of the day say, I did this, this, and this, and I feel good about these things. I feel like I did those well. And the things that you don't feel good about, it's okay to recognize those too. And I'll always be learning and kind of adjusting and figuring out what we do want to do differently. But I think it's so important to find that balance and just patting yourself on the back and saying, what? I did this well. Even if today was a total just poop show, there's always going to be something that we did okay.
We put clothes on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we didn't I mean, and sometimes you do just need a pajama day, but, like, just changing clothes, like, that can be a win some days.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're way too hard on ourselves. And like, I know a lot of times it comes from a good place because we want to be the best moms we can be. But I think the best moms are the ones that are not always going to have it together and are always going to be making mistakes because we're learning and we're trying. And I think it's just a part of the process and it's okay.
Beth, what did I not ask you that you wish I would have asked you?
Oh, there is one you had put on the list that we didn't talk
Yeah.
about was the products that were like the go-to must-have items versus the ones that didn't live up to the hype. I had made a
Yes,
list of
yes,
these
okay.
because I
Let
oh my gosh, the one thing that I absolutely had to have was that the Hatch sound machine. It has been such a lifesaver for both of my kids. And I know there's off-brand ones that are a little bit cheaper because the Hatches, it's a little bit pricey and you're like, "No, I don't need to spend this much money." Thankfully, we got both of ours given to us on our baby registry, but either way, they are lifesavers because they connect to your phone and you can have them set to timers. And so, like, both of my kids, we've had their like sounds, their nap and like bedtime sounds that turn on at a certain time automatically. And like my kids are trained, like they hear that sound and they're like, "Oh, it's nap time," or "Oh, it's bedtime." And it's just like they know. And then it also you can have it where it changes like different colors. And so my son, once he had been in a big kid bed and he could be getting out on his own, we started teaching him like, "Hey, you can't not that you can't, but like we're not supposed to come out of our room until the light turns green in the mornings. That way he's not getting up at like 4 a.m." And so it makes it where it automatically changes to a certain color at a certain time. So that way he wakes up and he's like, okay, it's green now. So I can get out of my room. Like it's been such a useful tool to have. So if you are on the fence about getting a Hatch sound machine versus the cheaper ones that you kind of just have to go in and turn on yourself, like the ones on your phone with the Bluetooth and the automatic settings, worth every dollar.
Totally. I feel like we have the Hatch sound machine, which may sound funny that it's like, I'm not sure if that's what it is or not. But the thing is, my husband got it and he programmed it and everything. And then, and so the app was on his phone and like it was all programmed on his, and we never put it on mine. And then we moved. And of course, we're in a different house, different Wi-Fi network or whatever. And either of us ever, certainly not on my phone, but re-downloaded the app and reconnected it here. So
Yeah.
now we have to go in and just touch it
Yeah.
and it you touch it and it cycles through all the colors and it
Mhm.
cycles through all the sounds and everything. I don't think that I knew that you could program it with colors and
Mhm.
sounds and time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm not getting all we've paid for
Yeah,
here.
it is yeah,
So
I recommend it. It is, like, it's the best, and even with our second one we bought it whenever Hatch had some deal going on where they also would send you a free of, like, their Hatch Mini, which is just like a mini sound machine, so we now have, like, a mini one in our room, and it has, like now I've kind of gotten to, like, I can't sleep without the sound machine on. It just, like, it helps
yeah.
tremendously to just kinda have that background sound when you're trying to sleep, and yeah, it's just
Yes.
fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so that definitely worth the hype
Mhm.
then.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Anything not worth the hype?
Oh, yeah, there was one thing there was one thing that I thought of. The Four Moms Mamaroo swing, if you've seen those,
Okay.
I know some people really like them. They're expensive. They're smaller, they're more compact, which is what kind of drew me to them. With my son, we had a bigger, more bulkier swing that he loved. It worked really well. He took a lot of naps in those swings, even though they say not to let them nap in the swings, but he took a lot of naps in those swings. But with the second, with
Okay.
my daughter, we live in a pretty small house. So I really wanted to just kind of have something smaller so that it wasn't as big and wasn't as bulky and wasn't taking up as much room that we had now that we had the toddler toys and everything all around. And
Sure.
the Monterey swing, I think it values at like $250. It's an expensive swing. And so I think I found one kind of off market on somebody on Facebook Marketplace. I bought an off brand, not off brand, but a cheaper one. But it's not even the swing itself that I'm complaining about. Like my daughter really didn't love it. She never really kind of enjoyed it. It doesn't do the usual swing back and forth. It had like a couple different motions that I was supposed to be all the hype about. She didn't really enjoy those. But it's not a great swing if you have a toddler in the house because it has this one like ring that has the little mobile on it. And it's the most flimsy, breakable ring, or not ring, but I don't know what you call it, just bar of some sort. And within like the
Sure.
first 2 weeks, my toddler would just grab it and just snapped it right off. And there was no fixing it after that. So for the next several months, like there was just my daughter would get in the swing and there was nothing for her to look at. And I was like, I'm so glad I did not pay full price for this because I would have been very upset if he had broken it that easily.
Yes. Yes. Okay. And see, this is why I include this question in the list just because it, and I will say, I can really be a sucker for marketing.
Hmm.
Okay. If it's got a fun, fancy label and a cute little
Uh-huh.
saying or whatever, and there's
It's
lots of
real
hype around it, I'm
trendy.
interested. I want to
Hmm.
learn more. And so these people having real talk about things that do and don't work is
Hmm.
very helpful. So there could be a mom out there who it's like, "I need that. I must have it." And this talk is
Yeah.
very
If you just got the
just
one
these honest,
baby,
open reviews.
yeah. With one baby,
Yeah.
maybe, but if you got a toddler, don't even bother because it's gonna be broken.
Yeah, because all the kiddos, all they wanna do is just pull and yank and grab
Mhm.
on everything, if
Absolutely.
that makes
Yep.
sense. Well, that is a wrap for today's episode. Thanks once again to Beth for making time to speak with me and being a part of Secret Mom Hacks. Don't forget to check out her socials linked in the show notes over at secretmomhacks.com/episode 50. If you're pregnant in the Middle Tennessee area or know someone who is, you'll definitely want to follow along with their updates and make sure you sign up for your free postpartum box and 3 complimentary counseling sessions. As a new mom, I would have loved to have had those resources at my fingertips. I'm curious what your favorite part of our interview was. I hope you're walking away inspired with tips either for yourself or that new mom you know. If that's the case, please subscribe for free if you haven't already. Give me a 5-star rating and leave a review sharing your favorite takeaways so far. Don't forget to stop by secretmomhacks.com where you can find transcripts, resources, and more. Stay tuned for next week's episode, and until then, you've got this, mama. Now, let's take a quick break. Hey, Secret Mom Hackers. Are you a budget savvy family looking for a financial tool that can help you take control of your spending and savings? Well, I've got something fantastic to share with you. Cube Money. Cube Money is the ultimate budgeting solution that's tailor-made for families who want to manage their money with ease and precision. Here's why our family loves it. It's just like the envelope system we all know, but digitized. Imagine the simplicity of old school envelope budgeting, but with a modern twist. Cube Money digitizes the envelope system, allowing you to allocate funds to specific spending categories right from your smartphone. It's like having a set of virtual envelopes for groceries, entertainment, and more, all in one app. The whole family benefits. Cube Money isn't just for individuals. It's designed to accommodate the needs of your entire family. You can set up sub-accounts for your spouse and kids, helping everyone stay on the same financial page. It's a powerful tool for teaching financial responsibility to your children. Stress-free savings. Planning for the future is a breeze with Cube Money. You can easily allocate funds for savings goals, whether it's a family vacation, a new home, or an emergency fund. It's all about turning your financial dreams into reality. So if you're ready to simplify your family's budgeting, track your spending with precision, and achieve your financial goals, give Cube Money a try. Visit their website at Cube Money to learn more. That's QUBE money.com to learn more and use the discount code SECRETMOMHACKS, all one word, SECRETMOMHACKS, to get 2 months of their premium or family plans for free. Cube Money, on a mission to see you live more and worry less. Try Cube Money today. Now back to the show.